What happened to the LAPD federal consent decree and the multi-million-dollar police monitoring system? Will it go away, or will it be extended for another 5 years? Stay tuned. As you know, we've interviewed Chief Bratton and about the federal consent decree, and he told us that he estimated that it is going to cost in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Is that holding true? Is it looking like that's what the cost is?
I think that is absolutely accurate. The department is, and what we've seen so far, we have not been in substantial compliance at the level you would expect if we're going to get out of the consent. I don't know at this time whether it generally was viewed at the time as being unrealistic to believe that every officer was going to be perfect from now on. We're always going to have individuals that either overreact or underreact or do something that's inappropriate. So we shouldn't view the consent decree as a means of saying all misconduct will cease forever. And that's an unrealistic view of the process. The mayor, since he's been in office, has made an attempt to lay claim that LA is going to be the safest big city in America. And what we find in looking at the statistics, in the 3 years he's been in office, crime has gone up remarkably compared to the 3 years before he was in office. The police department reported recently that there was a 40% clearance rate on crime. Historically, as long as I can remember, the police department has never gone too much over 20 to 25%. So all of a sudden, if we're clearing 40% of our crime, there's something remarkable has occurred. And so we're trying to figure out, is that just a change in the way you're reporting, or is there actually 40% more crime being cleared? The other issue is recently the statement that response time is going down. Yet we know that that is primarily based on a reclassification on how we deploy cars and how we define an emergency call. So all of a sudden we're saying response time dropped from 12 minutes to 6 minutes. Well, most of us in law enforcement know you can't drive fast enough to cut 6 minutes off the response time. You'd have to actually change the definition of what you're responding to. Those are the things that confuse the public, and it's unfortunate that we do not provide the explanation to know this droppage in response time has more to do with how we define it than actually that we're getting there any quicker. The community feels as though they only see police cars when they are speeding to a call. They see them rarely just patrolling. They also find that many times their requests are something that is put off and that they do not get a response. But I think people sense that that they are getting less service, and that's a major complaint in the city. They constantly remark that salaries are increasing for city employees, fees and taxes are increasing for people who live in the city, and then the third item is that we're cutting their services. So they see that they're being impacted negatively twice, and yet the only group that they sense is benefiting are city employees with pay raises. What we've seen in the recent past is a return to some of those issues of where city government is merged more with a political corruption. I don't think I think we'd have to go back to the Shaw era to find the amount of investigations going on from where grand juries, the federal grand jury and the county grand jury are both in the city at the same time. But I don't recall where we've had this intensity that's directed towards the mayor's office as it relates to commissioners and members of his office being alleged to be involved in pay-to-play. When the charter was changed and there was discussion of having a strong mayor type of government, some of the critics of that talked about how we could, over time, slide into an era of the Shaw era over time. I don't think anybody expected it in a matter of just a few short years.
Do you think the unions are too powerful?
Well, I think that, I don't know if they're too powerful, but they certainly influence a lot of people that vote on our programs and our direction and priorities in the city. And I think that with that influence, often, in my judgment, their vote is contrary to the better interest of the larger population. And in many instances, decisions made on the limitation of businesses based on really a union agenda in the city of Los Angeles. And that's unfortunate because in my community, where we have had a 39% reduction in employment over the last 10 years, Many people would really want a $9 an hour job. But on the other hand, we have union members saying you should only accept jobs that have union level wages and union level benefits. Everyone is not qualified for those type of jobs, nor are all those type of jobs available to everyone. And the only way to get a living wage, in my judgment, is get a wage to start with. And the only way to get into the middle class is have employment over time. And so we are basically sending a message to business that we don't want your business. And secondly, we're sending messages to our residents that we prefer you to be unemployed than employed. I don't think that the secession movement was defeated. I think the ballot measure was voted down. But the same issues that confronted the city then are still relevant. There's a sense in certain parts of this city that there's not an inclusive administration. What happened is exactly what they predicted. The ballot was voted down, and immediately they became what they think is the stepchild of the city of Los Angeles. And I don't believe it's gone away. It's just a matter of what are the issues that will cause it to build up again? What are the issues of discontent that will cause it to continue to perpetuate? Because the feelings are as harsh today about the lack of service as they were before the election. In fact, more so, because people feel as though they were not treated fairly. They were promised things that if it didn't pass, that they would get better service. None of those have come to pass. And so the feelings are harsher today. And it only will take an incident if we do not improve the way we relate to all of our communities. It's just a matter of time when it will raise its head again.
In the government, there's a phrase used to restrict access to information. That phrase, need to know. FullDisclosure.net, when you need to know the news behind the news.